Hello everybody and welcome to another Twilight Zone review. Today it is Season 2, Episode 6, Eye of the Beholder, written by Rod Serling and starring Maxine Stewart and Donna Douglas as Janet Tyler. And let me just say ahead of time, there will be a big spoiler about the twist in this episode. And I also have to point out that this is a very famous Twilight Zone episode. The twist is very fondly remembered by most people, and I would say for the most part this episode lives up to its very good reputation. So this episode starts with a woman in the hospital and her face is covered in bandages, and there's also a nurse there, and all we see of the nurse is shadows of her face and her hands. They're very careful not to reveal what the nurse looks like, which will be a theme throughout most of the episode, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So the woman asks about the bandages on her face and when they will be removed. And, the nurse says the doctor will be talking to her about it soon. And the woman talks about how, she's anxious to get them off because she doesn't want people to, laugh at her or scream when they see her. So we're wondering, what this woman's face really looks like. So we go to the next scene after the narration. And the doctor comes in, and his face is also kind of covered in shadows, and again his face isn't shown. And the woman talks about how she's almost in comfort because no one can see her. She feels safe that way. So now our curiosity's up even more, and the doctor goes over some things with her about how plastic surgery didn't work and about how there's alternatives, but he doesn't say what they are at this time. So the woman gets more and more and more distraught as this goes on, and she hopes that things turn out well, but you can tell she's very unsure of this. And, the doctor talks about how if things don't work out, there'll be a special area where she can fit in. And the woman really goes nuts. I mean, she starts yelling and rambling on and on about how she wants the bandages off. And you could say this scene is a little overacted, but I'm okay with it because the actress playing the character of Janet has to really portray her emotions without showing her face. So I think in this case, the expressiveness is okay. So the doctor, decides he's going to take the bandages off because she's so upset. So we come back to the next scene, and he starts to do that. And first, though, they really build this up. The doctor talks to a nurse about, why people can't look different and fit into society. And he's looked beyond her face, and he sees that she's a lot like a human being. And it's just basically a conversation about what it means to be different that is still very relevant today and why the episode really works. And the nurse tells him he better be careful because he's upsetting the value system, which is actually quite disturbing, and if that was the effect they were going for, it works very well. So then we do get to the bandage unraveling scene, and I have to say, they treat this thing like it's the greatest reveal of all time. I mean, they talk ahead of time, and they reveal layer after layer. And it does go on probably a little bit too long. I mean, the reveal is great. It's one of the great twists of all time. But I don't think we needed quite this long. It just seems like it takes forever, and they kind of rehash the same stuff. That's already been gone through in the episode, so I won't go through it again. About how there's a society for her and all this and all that. But the reveal is so good, I'll forgive it. It's just a minor thing. This episode's really good for the most part. And, so they finally unreel the bandages, and here's where the big spoiler comes in. She has just a regular-looking, normal human face. And then she gets upset. She tries to run off, and the doctor tries to restrain her, and we suddenly see all the faces of the doctors and the nurses in the room, and they all have, I'm trying to think of a nice word, what we would consider to be very different looking faces, probably not as appealing. I'll use the word odd. They all have odd looking faces, but they all have them. The doctor, all the nurses, everybody. So even though she has a very normal human type looking face, she's actually the outcast and doesn't fit in, which is a great twist. So she starts running through the halls trying to escape because she doesn't want to be sent off to who knows where. And I can't say I really blame her. And this is a very effective chase scene. She goes to different areas of the hospital and sees more nurses and doctors with these faces. And eventually she runs into a room where the doctor finds her and he says, "Oh, you've run right into the man you're supposed to meet." And it turns out that the man has a regular looking human face like we're used to, just like she does, and that they're going to go off together. He's the leader of the group. And you can tell she's still unsure about it, but he reassures her that things will be okay. And as they walk out and leave, you can tell all the doctors and nurses genuinely feel bad for this woman who, from our perspective, there's really nothing wrong with, but from their perspective has this really bad-looking face. And Rod Serling's narration talks about how beauty really is in the eye of the beholder. Now, a couple little things about this episode. The replay value isn't great. It's basically an episode that builds on one twist. Once you know the twist, it's not as effective the second, third, fourth time. But the ending of the episode is still good, and it still got to me. So the twist is really that good and still worth watching a second time. But not the best replay value episode. But what kind of offsets is that the episode's still very relevant, the way people try and fit in and worry about what those around them think about them. So these are very relevant issues still today. And overall, this episode does pretty much everything it wants to do, despite a few slow spots. And Eye of the Beholder is worthy of its classic status, and I give it 4.5 out of 5. So 4.5 out of 5 for Eye of the Beholder. Thanks for watching.